Now after that subcontract cost, we have, now I have just told you about the common cost, which you have to, the common cost has to be charged on all the contract on the basis of contract price ratio. Second, I am talking about subcontract cost, which is also to be charged to the contract. Now I am talking about extra cost. What I am talking about? Extra cost. Now what is extra cost? Now, is this expense should be charged to the contract or not? Right? I will tell you. I will give an example, then you decide. Now extra cost, suppose I am an interior designer of your company or of your house. So you approached me and you told me that this is the things, this is my house, this is 3-bedroom hall kitchen or 2-bedroom hall kitchen or 1-bedroom hall kitchen, I need these things. So he made an estimation, that I made an estimation, interior designer, that I will be giving you this thing, for hall I will be making this thing, or for kitchen I will be making units and everything, for wardrobe, everything. I made an estimation and give it to you. That estimation is near about 10 lakhs. Okay, now that 10 lakhs is the cost of the contract. Now afterwards, after the work started, after 3 months, because I told him that it will take 1 year or 2 years. Sometime the interior designing work takes 2 to 3 years, because people sometimes makes a Taj Mahal. I have seen people whose interior works took near about 1 year, more than 1 year. So forget about that. So what I was asking, that extra cost. Now after 3 months, after I gave the quotation, you agree with that 10 lakhs. So after 3 months, because of my mistake, I have just spoiled your pillar which was of the building. So I spoiled, because of that the building people started shouting at me that because of you we have suffered. So the architect has to pay incurred extra cost and make a correction of that. So will that cost added to you? Will he charge that cost to you? Yes or no? No. Yes, because this is because of my mistake. It is because of my poor planning, poor designing, that I suffered a loss. I would have analyzed the things, that this is a beam, I should not touch that. Because of that I incurred that is because of my poor planning. Now similarly, again the person of whom I am doing the interior contract, he came to me that my Guruji had came to my house yesterday, and he was saying that the commode position is not good. There should not be commode position. As soon as you open the door, the commode position should not be in front of you. It should be in another direction. It is not good for you. The kitchen platform, change the platform from the left hand side to right hand side, or to the next side, right? Shift that. Change the position of your wardrobe, because the tijori which you have to keep, it should be from north to south, right? Because the kuber always comes from north, so your tijori should be there from north side. So all this, so I told him that person came to me that my Guruji has made some changes, I have to make some changes. So I asked him, sir, I will make the changes accordingly, I don't mind, but that will cost you more. So in this case, who will bear that cost? Mr. Contractee, not me. So extra cost depends who is responsible for that extra cost. If I am responsible for that, I will not charge to the contract. But if that extra cost is because of structural changes of the previous plan, original plan by the contractee, then it will be charged accordingly to that person. Right? So extra cost will be charged or not, depends on the person who is responsible for that. Then we have next one is escalation clause. Escalation clause. Now what is this? Escalation clause. Now this is very important clause, since your job is not going to get over in 1 year. It may take more than 1 year, 2 years, right? So in that type of particular job, this clause should be there. Now what is this clause all about? See, since I have given the estimation of your interior designing, right, in advance, and I know that will take more than 8 months or 9 months, since I have given you a quotation of 10 lakhs, right? So, but that 10 lakhs I have estimated today, sitting today, I have estimated 10 lakhs for the coming 8 months, because that the whole interior things will get over in 8 months, right? So what happened? There will be some kind of changes in the price, market fluctuation, availability of raw material resources which I thought that I'll get easily. So accordingly I charge. Now because of market changes, because of economical changes, there is fluctuation in the price of the raw material which I was supposed to take in the construction, in the interior designing. Where at the time of estimation the price was normal, but right now when I was doing the actual work the price is fluctuating. So this will cause the cost to me, because since I have given the estimation to you, so you are not supposed to pay me more than that, but this will create problem to me. So in order to safeguard my interest, what I will do, see, if I charge on that fellow, also it is not good because it will affect him. So in order to safeguard both the parties' interest, there is a clause which is there in the agreement that if there is a fluctuation in the price of material or labor, only to these two items, fluctuation in the price of material and labor rate, to some extent I will bear that. To some extent I will bear that, right? And if it is increase, if the fluctuation is more than certain percentage, then whatever increase is there will be borne by both the parties, not by him, but both the parties. To some extent, say 20%, I will bear. If there is an increase in the price by 20% of the estimated margin, I will bear it. But after 20%, whatever increase is there, suppose total increase is 30%. So how much extra increase is there? 10%. That 10% will not be borne by me alone, but it will be borne by both the parties. So that percentage, up to what level I will bear, and after which level both the parties will be there, bear, in which ratio, that all details will be there in escalation clause. This clause is always there in case of a contract which is not going to get completed in 1 year or 2 years, but it is going to complete in more than 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So all infrastructure, all construction of commercial places or residential complexes have this clause. If MADA people have given some construction company to construct the place, so they will be following this escalation clause. They will be putting that escalation clause. Got the point? So these are certain things which you have to keep in mind in the chapter. So one is common cost. What is common cost? The cost which is incurred at the head office department, which has to be borne by all the contracts site. So that is common cost, which has to be distributed on the basis of contract price. Subcontract cost is the cost of the contract which has to be charged to the contract, right? Extra cost, finding out the person who is responsible for this extra cost. Accordingly, we have to charge or we don't have to charge. Escalation clause, in order to safeguard company's interest as well as the contractee's interest, we put this clause because if there is market and political changes and economical changes and market fluctuation, because of that, if there is increase and decrease in the price of the material or wage rate, then to extent the contractor will bear the loss, but after certain extent, whatever increase is there, both the party will bear the loss. That percentage, that level, that activity will be mentioned in this clause with mutual consideration. Then after that, we have in this one topic called cost plus contract. Cost plus contract price. Now since I told you that just now I gave an example that you came to me and I gave a quotation of 10 lakhs for the interior designing, right? So in that see, I told you the escalation clause is made compulsory only when the contract is running for more than 3 years or 4 years. But if the contract is running for 8 months, 9 months, then in that I can't have escalation clause. So if by estimation goes wrong, if I gave an estimation of 10 lakhs, but when I was actually done the job, it went on to 12 lakhs. So that 2 lakh extra, who will pay that? So that should not happen. That is happening because you didn't have any previous experience. You didn't have any previous experience of the job. So because of that, your quotation went under absorbed and actual expense went above the quotation which is given by you. That is a loss for you. In that scenario, I as an architect or as a contractor will follow a different methods of costing in estimation. I will tell them that I will do the job, but I will not give you the estimation. I will complete the job, show you the details, and in that I will add some percentage of profit and then give the quotation. and then give the bill to the person, concerned party. So that helps them in suffering a loss if they by estimating the cost in advance. So such type of construction company, when they are very much new to the company, new to this field, if they are the newborn company in this field, they are doing this contract for the first time, or they are doing this contract for a government body, because in the government body, if you given in advance, what happened, they will not take quotation in advance, they will first tell them to construct and submit the bill, right? So all road contractors or do this methods of quotation. They will first make the road, right, construct the road, make the road, and incur the expense daily basis, record that expense, submit the bill, and then in that bill they add some of the profit, cost plus profit, and then submit it to the municipal office. And after that they will get a check of after 3 months or 2 months they will get the check, right? So before giving the check, the government people will check that thing, and then they will pass the check of yours. So in that case, when you are new to this field, new to this job, or if you are doing any contract work for the government official, you will go not by estimating in advance, but you will go by this for this method, cost plus contract price, in which you will incur the expense first, and then after completing the job, get the total, add some profit, and submit the bill. Okay, you got the point. So this is what there in your whole chapter. This is what there in your whole chapter. Not whole chapter, the whole topic of contract account. So I just now completed the whole topic of job costing, which is one of the methods of costing. Who will follow job costing? The company whose production is not huge in number, but the production cost is huge in number. The company who does not keep on producing day by day, but they only produce, they start their activity only when they get the order or job from a particular client. So that company uses job costing. But in job costing we have two methods, batch costing and contract costing. Who will use the batch costing? When they are producing the units but of different customized things. So accordingly, as per the customized things, we have to charge according to the service which is incurred in that particular product. So we will make a batch of separate customized product. For example, I have given you a carpenter who is working for Concept Furniture Mart will follow batch costing, because he will make dining table of same design but of different sizes. So he will find out the job cost for each and every sizes separately. That is batch costing. Pharma industry will use batch costing. Automobile industry like Maruti, Hyundai, who are producing car of different models, Etios, Toyota, they are produced Etios. They have Etios sedan model. In that they have G model, V model, L model, GI model, right? In that they have Liva. In that they have diesel model. So accordingly, as per the customs approach, we will decide the price separately, we will charge the price separately, and that is only possible if you had made the batch separate of that particular production. Contract costing will be taken into consideration by those company. This method is implemented by those company where they knew that they are doing the job for a particular period, but that job is not going to end in 1 year, but it may take more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or there is an example of 12 years also in front of you. If I take example of Maharashtra, Mumbai, sorry, to be very precise, Mumbai. So Worli ceiling, it has started with an intention that they will complete in 4 years, but due to some climatical changes, political changes, environmental changes, economical changes, market changes, it went on to 12 years. So such type of company where the job is not going to get over in 1 year, such type of company may implement this method of costing. This method is best suitable for the construction of companies, whether it is dam construction, whether it is commercial complex or residential complex construction company, or whether it is infrastructure company. All that company will follow contract costing. So I hope now the one part, job costing, is very much clear to you all. So take a break and revise the things which I have explained you. Take a pause this video, revise the things, and then listen to the next part. Now move on to the next method of costing that is named as process costing. Now this method is suitable for those company whose production takes place in different processes. I mean to say that if you want a particular product final output, it has to be processed through different processes, and one by one, completing one by one processes, at the end, the last process will give you the final output. The last process will give you the final output. For example, in a manufacture of oil company, manufacture of coconut oil, there are three processes in which the oil get produced. One is crushing of coconut. This is one process. Then after crushing, once crushing process is started, see, in order to get the oil, first I have to do crushing of coconuts. So till that time the first process is not over, you can't go to the next process. So they are sequential. Once this process is over, then only you will go to the next process. Now after crushing, you will get what? You will get a crude oil, impure oil. The output of first process will become the input of the second process, that is called refining process. After the refining is over, till that time the refining process is not over, you can't move on to the next process, which is packing process. So the output of refining process will become the input of finishing process or packing process, finishing process. So I get the final oil only after going through this all process one by one, not simultaneously, but this process is taken into consideration sequentially. Means once I complete the crushing, then only I will start refining. Once I complete the refining, then only I can start finishing. Whereas in job costing, there were process going on. Suppose take an example of automobile industry again. In automobile industry, one section will be producing the engine of the, will be making the engine of the car. Second company, second process will be making the body of the car. Third units may be making the seat of the car and tire of the cars. And then after assembling all these processes together, assembling all the parts together, we make a car. So that there also process is going on, but that process are not sequentially going. It is going simultaneously. Whereas in this process, once the process crushing gets over, then only you can start refining. Once the process refining gets over, then only you start finishing. So without the completion of first process, I cannot move on to the next process. Whereas in job costing, every process are going simultaneously. They are not linked with each other units process. They are separately done without any obstruction or without any interference of other process. Whereas in this process costing, this method is suitable for those company where the final output is get only by passing through different processes, and that too sequentially. So this method is useful for textile industry, textile industries. Second, sugar making company or sugar industry, right? Oil industry, coconut oil, groundnut oil industry, right? And fourth, I can say, crude oil making industry, right? So all this industry follow process costing. Say, take an example of textile industry. In textile industry, first we'll take cotton seed. From that cotton seed, we remove threads out of it, make a thread. After the threading process is over, then only that thread is put it into the weaving machine, and in that we do the weaving process, and because of weaving process you'll get a piece of cloths, meters of cloth, not piece of cloth, to be very precise, meters of cloth. Now that cloths, after the process of threading, taking out the thread from the cotton seed, then we move on to the next process, which is weaving process. After weaving, what happened? The whole cloths are produced. Then that cloths are put in the boilers. Can I directly put cotton seed in the boilers? No. Right? So after the cloth is produced, they are put in the big boilers for dyeing and bleaching purpose. And after that is done, they are rolled in a different rolls of different meters and kept. That is the final product. So the company where the final outcome is you receive the final outcome after processing through different processes. Such type of company may follow process costing method. So which is useful for them. This is the best method for calculating the cost of the product. So when you are calculating the cost of the product, in that you have to first take you have to make each and every process. For example, this is my first process 1. Right? In that I will write all the expenses, material expenses, wages, factory overheads and factory expenses. Right? Once you complete the debit side, then you write on the credit side wastage, scrap means some of the units. See, when I'm talking about process costing, I'll be dealing with two types of loss. One is the normal waste loss, second one is the scrap. Now I will give you an example regarding that. See, if I'm taking an example of crushing of manufacturing of coconut oil, during crushing process, when you crush the coconut oil, the oil gets spits up from the machine and it gets split on the person who is standing there. At the same time, it gets splits down, which is collected in a tray. Now the oil which get collected in a tray will be sold in a remote area at a very cheapest rate. Why? Because the remote area are not in a position, they are not affordable for them to buy a parachute oil ka pack. So they will go for such type of oil because that they get at a very cheaper rate since their standard of living is very low. So that waste which I have collected in a tray can be sold at a remote area of India, right, where standard of living is very low. People are living below the poverty line. So they will be sold at a very cheaper, means very cheap. If the cost is 90 rupees per liter, they might be selling that 3 rupees or 4 rupees per liter. So in that way they can sell that is called scrap. But the oil which gets split on the person who is standing there, that machine, will he go home and squeeze his shirt and collect the oil and sell it in the market? No. So that is weight loss. So such type of loss reduce only the quantity of the units produced, right? Whereas scrap generates certain income which is written on the credit side. The scrap will be written on the credit side of the process account, which will reduce the cost of production. The scrap will reduce the cost of production, but the weight loss will not generate any type of income. So by getting the difference of that, we will get the cost of process 1. This will be the cost of process 1. This will be the cost of process 1 account. So which get transferred to the next process. So when you prepare another process account, see second process account. In that, this cost will be taken as the material. Again in this, expense are incurred. Same thing, weight loss will be there. The cost will not be generated, and scrap will be there where amount will come. And again, by getting the total difference of this, we get the balance, which is the cost of the production, which includes the previous process ka cost plus this process ka cost, and it keeps on adding. So the cost is increasing from here. So here it is 20 crores. Here it will become maybe 35 crores. And that will go again in the third process. Again you add that expense, third process expense, same thing, and at the end you will come across to the cost of production of the finished goods. So this is how the production costing, process costing methods takes place, helps the company to calculate. So in process wise, we will calculate the cost of production of each process. We will calculate the cost of production of each process, which will get transferred to the next process. This cost will get transferred to the next process, and will keep on adding all the expense again of that particular process, right? Then weight loss, scrap. See, scrap will generate certain income which will be credited, which will be deducted from the cost of production, but weight loss will not generate any type of income. That's the reason I have written nil. Okay, again totaling debit minus credit will get the cost of production of this process, which includes cost, that process cost plus this process cost. Adding that, you get This process cost. Again in the third process, suppose this is the last process, so this will be your cost of production of the final output. This will be your the cost of production of the final output. Okay, understood. So this is how process costing method flow in order to calculate the cost of production. So when you are following process costing method, we come across to these words like normal wastage, then second we talk about scrap, which I have given you these two examples I have already given to you, right? When the production of coconut oil, crushing of coconut oil takes place, the oil gets split out of the machine and it get collected in the tray, and some of the oil get spread on the cloth of the person who is standing near that machine, right? That the oil which is collected on the tray can be sold in the market at a scrap rate, which generates certain income, which will be deducted from the cost of that particular process, that is scrap. And the oil which gets spread on the cloth of the person who is standing there, it cannot be sold, it will just reduce the quantity of the production, so that is the normal wastage. Okay, then we have third is byproduct. We have byproduct, or you can say byproduct. Now what is the byproduct? Now for example, take an example of joint process. Now joint process is what, you know, in joint process, take if I talk about joint processes, the company who's extracting crude oil from the oceans, right? Reliance petrochemical industry, they extract crude oil from the oceans, and then they do a joint process, right? In that they incur certain expenses. At the end, they will get 4 products. One is kerosene, second one is petrol, diesel and tar. So this process is called joint process because this process gives me 4 output that are called byproduct, and each byproduct have the separate selling price in the market. Each byproduct will have a separate selling price in the market. So these are called byproduct. From one processes we are getting various products which have separate selling price in the market, is called byproduct. Is called byproduct. Understood? Now this is called joint process. This is called joint process, right? So now after this we have one word called abnormal loss and abnormal gain. See, this is your normal loss. Scrap is also called normal loss. Abnormal loss, abnormal gain. What I am talking about? Abnormal loss and abnormal gain. Now what is abnormal loss or abnormal gain? Now if I am getting a production which is more than the expected, for example, for this abnormal loss and abnormal gain, I will just make an example for you. This is process A. I am making a statement of inputs. Statement of inputs. Statement of inputs A and B. Now in the process A, first I input 1000 tons of coconuts. In process A, I input 1000 tons of coconuts. I may input additional inputs in this additional. Suppose in this example I have not taken additional. So what is my total input? What is my total input? Total input is 1000. Now from the past experience, it is measured that company always have to a 5% weight loss. Weight loss, normal loss, wastage. 5% weight loss, that is equal to 50. Then company have 10% scrap. Company have 10% scrap. 10% of the total input, that is 100. So according to the past experience base, my expected output should be 850 units, 850 tons. But when I actually produce, I got 800 tons production. This is my actual output. This was expected output. This is my actual output. So there is a loss of 50 units. So my expectation, when I am getting production less than the expected output, that is called abnormal loss, which is recorded on the process account credit side at cost price. I repeat, abnormal loss is calculated and written on the credit side written on the credit side at cost price. Units is there, but at cost price. Now you'll ask me why there is abnormal loss. Because you have planned the production 850, but because of faulty machine, because of irregularity in the of the laborer, if they are unskilled laborer, and wastage tendency of the laborers, lots of wastage created, you reduce your production. That may be the reason for abnormal loss. So that is abnormal loss. Abnormal loss are recorded on the credit side of the process account, but they are calculated on cost price. They will be recorded at cost price of the production of that particular process, right? Whereas suppose if I get 870 output, my expectation was 850, but I got 870 output, so I got more 20 units. That is abnormal gain, which is because of good quality control, which is because of good inventory control, which is because of proper training of the workers, giving them various incentives for making the more use of raw material with less wastage. So all that has gained me 20% gain, 20 units ka gain, 20 tons. So because of that I got abnormal gain. Abnormal gain will be recorded, I repeat, abnormal gain will be recorded on the debit side of process account. Right now in the previous part I have shown you process account, debit side, all the expenses, credit side income. But when there is abnormal loss, it will be recorded on the credit side at cost price, and if there is an abnormal gain, it will be recorded on the debit side at cost price. So these are all the things which are considered during the process costing, and this method is useful only for those company where output is produced only by passing through various processes sequentially, not simultaneously, sequentially. I hope the example given by me is well understood by you people for understanding the method of process costing. So this is one of the method of calculating the cost which may implement by those company where production is done in various processes, where the final output is done in various processes. Now we'll move on to the next method of costing, that is your unit based costing, single unit costing method. Which method I am talking about? Single unit costing method. So let us move on to the next method, which is called single unit costing method. Single unit costing method. This method is useful for those company who's producing single units, means one unit, but the quantity which they produce is huge in number, but as compared to the cost, it is very less. For example, if I take manufacturing of refills for pen, manufacturing of refills for pen, manufacturing of Coca-Cola production, Mirinda production, right? So that is single units. They are producing in large quantity, say 2 lakh liters, 3 lakh liters, 4 lakh liters of Coke, but the cost of that 3 lakh liters will be not so huge as it looks in number of units. For producing 3 lakh liters of Coke, I might have incurred only 1 lakh rupees. So the cost is very less, but the single units, but the production is very huge. Such type of company may follow single unit costing method. How they calculate the cost? This is how they calculate the cost. They will take the material cost, direct material. They will take the direct material plus direct labor plus direct expense. I repeat, direct material, direct labor plus direct expense incurred for that single unit production. That gives me prime cost. That gives me prime cost. Then in that you add factory overheads. You add what? Factory overheads. You get works cost. What do you get? Works cost. To this you add administrative expense. We call it as admin expense. Admin means administrative expense. This will give you cost of production. This will give you cost of production. So in single unit costing method, it is very simple for us to calculate the cost. So this method will be useful for those where production is of single units. Coke manufacturing. So I am producing Coke drink, that is black color drink I am talking about. So in that, what are the material plus labor involved in that plus direct expense? I get prime cost. To that I will add all factory expenses. To that I will add all admin expenses. This will give me the cost of production. I have not added selling and distribution. Selling and distribution is added to calculate the total cost. But when I am talking about cost of production, I will just take the expense till office and administrative expense, not selling expenses added. So when companies intending to get the cost of the production, they will not add selling and distribution expense. They will just go for till admin expenses. So this is the method which is used by those companies where the production is huge in number, single unit, huge in number, but the production cost as compared to the production units is very less. So they will follow this method of unit costing method. Now the last method which is remaining is operating costing method. I hope till here you are enjoying very much. We have completed job costing. In job costing we have batch and contract costing. Then we completed process costing. In process costing, I have shown you the various companies who will follow process costing. Now there was little bit confusion which came into the mind of your people while watching this video. Sir, I feel job costing and process costing are same. What is the difference? Yes, to the answer to this question, before you ask, I have given the answer. Again, I am giving the answer. In job costing, the processes are done, but they are simultaneously going on. Whereas in job costing, the processes are done, but the processes are going simultaneously. Whereas in process costing, the processes are done and they are taken in sequentially. Means one process is over, then only the second process will start. And second process is over, then only the third process is start. That is what sequential. Whereas in job costing, all the process, the works are done in processes, but all the processes are taken simultaneously, and after assembling all the process together, we make a product. But in process costing, processes are done, but one after another, sequentially. So that is a huge difference between job costing method and process costing method. Single unit costing method will be used by those companies who will produce large number of units, single units, only one unit. No bifurcation, no batches in that. Single unit. So that way follows single unit costing. How they calculate the cost? By adding direct material plus direct labor plus direct expense gives you prime cost. Then add factory overheads. To that prime cost, add factory overheads, you get works cost. To that works cost, you get add admin expense, you get cost of production. So this is how the single unit costing method helps to calculate the cost of the product. So this cost divided by number of unit produced will give you cost per unit. This cost divided by number of unit produced will give you cost per units. Now we'll move on to the last method of this chapter, which is operating costing method. Now operating costing method is that method which is used by operating costing method is that method which is used by all service sector. I repeat, operating costing method will be used by all service sector. Operating costing method will be used by all service sector. Example, IT industry, hotel industry, hospitals, transport industry. All these sectors who provide service to the people, not produce anything or give product, but they give service to the people. Such type of company follow this operating costing method. In this, the formula goes like this, the method goes like this. This is the operating cost sheet. Operating cost sheet. In this, we will write all fixed expense. All fixed expense means whether you provide service or not, the admin expenses, the administrative expenses of the company, right? The management expense of the company is fixed. That will not fluctuate with the level of activity or the level of service you are providing. So you take all the fixed expense ka total, right? Get the total in the outer column. Add the variable cost. Now what is the variable cost? Now for example, if I am taking the transportation expense, if I am taking the transportation company, the fixed expense is the admin office expense, salary of the office, salary of the driver, salary of the conductor, salary of the accountant, the office and administrative, electricity, rent and taxes, all that expenses are fixed. But if I am talking about the variable expense, for transport industry, what is the variable expense? The expense which is incurred by the company during the operations is going on. For example, petrol charges, labor charges, production, petrol charges, diesel charges, repairs and maintenance, tires and fuels, lubricants on oil, all that expenses are variable. Whereas insurance of the truck or the transport vehicle, permit fees, then depreciation, all that comes in fixed expense. So by taking all this example means expenses together, this two total will give you total cost of production. This will give you total cost of production. Sorry, not production, total cost of operation. What they will give, this will give you total cost of operation. In this cost, operating costing, in order to calculate per unit cost, in operating costing, mostly per unit will be composite units. Like in production, I have cost per units, cost per shirt, cost per one car, cost per one dining table, right? All that method gives me per unit. But in this, there will not be one unit, there will be composite unit. For example, if I am taking an example of transport company, the cost will be calculated cost per ton kilometer. Because the trucks, when you have, if I am talking about the transport company, Mr. Mika Singh, he is having a transport company, he is having 200 trucks, right? So he will be charging cost per ton kilometer. Kilometer also, as well as the tons which is taken over by his vehicle. Then if I am talking about BST bus, they will charge cost per passenger kilometer. If I am talking about BST bus, so they will charge as per cost per passenger kilometer. Again, composite units. If I am talking about sumo, if someone is following sumo, they will only charge as per cost per kilometer. They will charge according to cost per kilometer. But if I am talking about the rickshaw wala, after Thane and Kalwa, if you go away from Thane, means after the Thane, whatever rickshaw wala, they are not charging according to the meter, they charge according to per seat. So they will charge cost per passenger, 10 rupees per passenger. So in operating costing, the unit calculation may be either single unit or composite unit, depend on the nature of the organization they have, right? So this method, the operating costing method, is purely a method for those company who are busy in giving services to the people, not producing anything. So operating costing will be implemented by all service sector industry, example IT industry, transport industry, electricity, power housing like Reliance Energy, BEST, right? All this Tata Power, all this company may follow operating costing method because they are not giving any type of production to you, but they are giving services by providing certain services to your house at door-to-door step. So this method is useful for not for manufacturing company but for service sector. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter. This makes the end of this chapter. This is the final topic. This makes the end of this chapter. In this methods of costing, we studied about the various methods through which is used by the industry, which differs from industry to industry in order to calculate the cost of the product which is manufactured by the company, or the cost of the service which is manufactured, which is rendered by the company. So I hope now it is very much clear that service sector will not use job costing, process costing or something like that, but they will be using operating costing method, and all manufacturing company may use either job costing, batch costing, contract costing, process costing or single unit costing method. So with this I end up this chapter, and the remaining part, advantages, disadvantages, after the listening or watching this video, you just go through your textbook. You will find this chapter very easy. Definitely. And if you still don't understand, please call upon this number, this, the number which is coming below my screen, below the screen. You can copy that number, call on that number and ask the query. Thank you very much. God bless you.